Greetings to all. This is Queen Miss B, and I'm here with a message. So today's message is based on insecurity. We will be diving deep within the spiritual truths about insecurity. So buckle up because this is about to get hot. It's about to be heated in here. So insecurity, going to the definition, straight from the dictionary. Insecurity, or rather insecure. The first definition is not secure or safe, and the second definition is lacking confidence about yourself. So as it is defined in the dictionary, we will then, after further explaining and further diving deep within this topic, we'll then go to the spiritual truth about what insecurity poses to be spiritually. So getting started, let's get started. So insecurity. So at some point in our lives, we may have encountered the spirit of insecurity. And I mean the spirit because it's not something that stays for a long time. It's something that comes and goes, meaning that it's a spirit, and it's up to us. As we encounter the spirit, it's then up to us to act, upon it, right? It's a spirit because it needs like an action. What you do with it, rather. It's like temptation. You are tempted, but what do you do with the temptation? Do you allow it to tempt you? Or what do you allow the temptation to take over you? Or are you going to do something about it, like pray, fast, and try and restrain yourself from it? The same way with insecurity. That's how we know that it's a spirit. It needs an action to be done in order for a further... Yeah, it just needs an action to be done, if I can put it that way, if I can be, as plain as possible. So I bet that there are times where we all have, encountered the spirit of insecurity. And I'm just going to, there are many different reasons why we may have felt insecure in our lives. Some things seem so complicated at first. All the more to know more and better understand when you dive deep into the truth of whatever it may be. So this is just one of the platforms where I'm just going to dive deep into what insecurity may be and the roots, and also like the other things based on it. So in my life, at some point, I'll just speak on one point of experience. I'm going to speak mainly on this one point because it just touches on a lot. It's just something I probably had to go through in order for me to come up with a message. There was a time, right, where I was secure in myself. I was fine with me being me, and I was working on bettering myself. I was just being me, accepting who I am, being with God, trying to hear what He has to say, and just being complacent in who I am, where I am, and who God has made me to be, and who He says I am, as well as my relationship with Him, right? So I was basically fine. There was nothing to, complain about. And even being on, social media, I learned to love how people can be so different and express themselves the way they are. That is truly me, right? And at some point, I don't want to talk about this, but I just feel like I have to. At some point, it's like, when, I tried something different, as to like my outlook, like expressing myself differently as, as me. So yeah, this was a different expression of how, I looked. And I took pictures. And looking at those pictures, I remember I felt so, I don't know, it was like I just felt so pretty. Oh, and all the more because, I've been keeping myself closed in, at that time. So putting it out there, posting it or something. Yeah, posting it. I wanted to post, but I then came, you know, to the realization that because I felt this way when I looked at these pictures, how will others feel? Some people are competitive, and some people are just not gonna necessarily be. So it was that paranoia type of moment that since I felt like, yo, this is, I look really nice. How are other people going to perceive this, and how will it affect other people? And that sent me off, yeah, and I ended up not posting it. So the next day, I had to go back to the very same picture, right? And I looked at it and I'm just like, but what is there to, to be jealous of, or what is there to be, to feel some type of way about when it comes to this picture? I know that there was something deep within the substance of everything. How I felt then was quite different from what I felt the day before. So now it's a matter of like, but then I'm not that. It's like I'm just a different person. There are people who radiate the same beauty, and then that's when comparison came in, and it's like, look, okay, I'm not that pretty, okay, but there are other pretty women out there who can appear to be prettier than me. Now, why do I have to like close myself in so that people don't, get, don't feel some type of way because I posted this? And by doing that, that's when I unconsciously invited the spirit of comparison, and that is when some type of insecurity kicked in on the very same picture that I felt so different about. Because at first it felt like, oh my goodness, this is such a really beautiful picture, and I'm really scared that it's too pretty, that I don't know how other people are going to feel. So it was quite an interesting experience, and I've learned a lot based on it. And that's probably why I'm here, to share my experience, and as well as, to actually share the truth based on what insecurity is. So, having that said, spiritually, when we look at insecurity, right, starts when you compare your path or compare yourself to the next person. So me trying to, not make other people feel some type of way by not posting the photo is me being very well alert that there are people that don't know this truth about insecurity, that it is a feeling that you might feel. It's like insecurity comes in different types of forms. Like you first feel insecure for some reason. That's why it's like you don't have to necessarily feel insecure about yourself, but feel insecure about like, oh, wow, how is she this pretty? Like you feel some type of way about yourself. All the more, not because, you just feel some type of way about yourself. Even when you're in a different gender from the person, you feel some type of way. And and that's why there's depth in it, because it's accompanied by a negative feeling that you have within. Not necessarily, let me not say negative, because what makes it negative is what you do about it. So it is accompanied by a feeling that you have that is now projecting itself as insecurity, because now you're not sure about yourself. You're not secure about where you're standing. Yes, basically it covers the definition, the dictionary definition of what insecurity is. It's that feeling underneath it that puts you in that place of insecurity. So what can that feeling be? So that me knowing that people may feel this way, I'm getting into detail about people that may feel that way all the more because they feel insecure or they feel some type of way because of what someone projected onto them through anything, something just like projecting their success, projecting whatever they have. It then comes back to you as to what you do with it. Even the insecurity, what you do with it. It is up to you whether to be jealous of this person or not. And you can be jealous, but it's up to you whether to, it's a step-by-step type of process. And that is why it is important to deal with the feeling immediately, So it's like, what then caused you to be insecure? So what causes insecurity? What causes insecurity? One main reason that I can tell you about the cause of insecurity is immediately getting out of your lane to compare your lane with the next person's. In order to compare your lane with the next person's, it's like jumping onto their life, wondering how it must feel to be them and comparing it with your lane and how yours feels at that time. And because you feel some type of way, because it's like what you see, of course what you see isn't what always is, but because you speculate around your mind, don't think that negative spirits aren't roaming around. It's like a door that you open for these spirits to actually roam around, because comparing in itself is a form of insecurity. Now you're opening doors to spirits of envy, spirits of jealousy, spirits of, all these different types of spirits that try and make you feel bad. And what you do about that is fully dependent on you. You can be tempted, but it's up to you whether to take the temptation on or to pray and do something about it. So now when you take on these things, that is when the enemy is now using you, to make this person, suffer for what they are, So it builds conflict between the children of God all the more because the enemy is using, the substance of the spirit of envy or the spirit of jealousy or the spirit of whatnot, to get to the next person. And that is how we have clashes within us as children, of God. And this is where we need to fix things, coming back to ourselves, Yes, we do experience these things. Yes, we do feel jealous at some point. Yes, we do feel envious at some point. But what do you do with it? And this is where I'm just trying to talk based on, because when we feel like that, sometimes we suppress it, and it comes back to the main thing, insecurity, which is then going back to the fact that you only felt insecure because you compared your path to the next person. Now, let's just going back to insecurity. Now, when you are insecure at the moment, try and point out what made you insecure. Try and point out what made you insecure and what you can do in order for you not to be insecure. If you are following certain types of people that just bring that insecurity over you, unfollow. Do what is best for you, knowing very well that it's going to benefit you. You're not going to increase in that insecurity that it becomes jealousy or envy. No, you're doing it for you, so you're feeding yourself with positivity so that you don't give yourself the opportunity to be insecure. And another thing is protect who you are, To avoid insecurity is to protect who you are and at the same time stay in your lane. Because really, what other people are going through, their paths are not the same as yours. Their season is not the same as yours. So to understand where you stand and to understand where you are and to understand who you are and to seek for who you are is the baseline of not ever being insecure at all, because insecurity in itself is a spirit. It's a primary spirit, if I can say, and the secondary spirits that may come after that can be envy, jealousy, depression, and all of the others. So the primary spirit is insecurity, where you're not sure where you stand. That is why it is important to evaluate yourself and to be content in you, all the more because God made you beautifully and wonderfully made. That is why it is important that in our paths we involve God, because He's our creator and He's the only one who will help us love ourselves more, who will help us to know what we're going through at a certain time and at a certain season, to help us basically take on the journey or the path of our lives in the knowledge that we are secured in His grace and in His mercy and in His being, that we are secured in His plan over our lives. So do you see insecure and secured in God's plan and God's way of moving over your life? So do you see how you beat insecurity, basically? So being secured in the Word of God and what it says about you will leave you in a place where you know who you are. Therefore, nothing else can tell you who you are not or who you are, which is quite different from what God said you originally are, which is beautifully and wonderfully made, and a lot more other things that confirm a lot that God knows about you, which is your very own truth. And that is where you get contentment in the knowledge that you are all. Nobody is like, it's like being at home, right? And before you get out of the house, the people you live with probably tell you before you get out that, oh my goodness, you look so pretty, oh my goodness, you look so nice, and you thank them, and then you are now having that confidence that, man, I look really good. So when you get out there, it doesn't matter anymore what anyone else has to say, because your mommy told you that you really look really nice, or your daddy told you that you really look like really nice before you even stepped out. So whose opinion matters afterwards? You understand? So it's that type of baseline that you need to get to in order to be content within yourself and within who you are in God, right? And who you are to God, in order for you to settle for the level and what God says about you, in order for you to take on, the challenges that may be thrown at us in this world that tell us otherwise. And we should be wise enough to be content in the Word of God about ourselves and realize that these are just not our reality, but what the world is trying to project onto us. So that's where we need to get contentment in the knowledge of who we are in Christ and the fact that we are on our own paths, and therefore whatever we desire over our paths we shouldn't give up on. Now, looking at other people, their successes, their well-being, them reaching their goals, and every positive thing, them looking really, really good and whatnot. So you looking at them should be that you are having a glimpse of what their path appears to be, how their path appears to be, and what you can take from that in order to help you, and being inspired by, okay, they reached this point, so be inspired. They reached this goal, so be inspired as of one day you're going to do the same as well. So now going to insecurity, let's just say you slipped in and you became insecure at some point. Now, because you became insecure, go back to who God says you are and and block whatever it is that is making you insecure. And you're doing it for yourself, remember. And even if it gets you to be so genuine to the next person that this is how you feel, it makes you feel better because you then realize that you're not a bad person, because that's what everyone wants to know, whether or not that makes them bad or good. So it's crucial to actually step away from the things that make us insecure, and it's for our own good. Now let's just say from insecurity you slipped in and invited the spirit of jealousy or animosity or envy. What you do from then, it is crucial, because the next step after that is not your will. Meaning that once you reach the spirits of envy, animosity, jealousy, because of the spirit of insecurity, which makes you, because you felt bad that you're insecure, now because you have to deal with this insecurity, this is how it's projecting itself. Spiritually, it's a matter of insecurity being a door, and this door is an open door to different types of spirits. So the spirit that you hear that pokes something that hurts you the most within your life is the spirit that's just going to take control of you. So in this case, let's just say you see a picture of someone and it's like they have everything, and you feel some type of way, you feel so bad about yourself. Now something is gonna poke you within, like there's just that spirit that's just gonna get the best out of a sensitive part of you and then try and take on in you. So let's just say, okay, you feel so bad that, oh my goodness, I can't, well, where am I now and where are they now? So you remember, insecurity starts with comparison. Now as you are comparing, it's a door. You are inviting the spirit in. And the one that mostly hurts, the point that mostly hurts you in this comparison, probably